This is a map of the Americas. This is the Santa Maria, one of the ships of Christopher Columbus. So why do we call indigenous Americans Indians? It all started with a mistake, and that mistake changed history forever. It's me. You're watching this channel. And now back to our video. In 1492, Christopher Columbus thought he had reached India. He actually arrived in the Caribbean, and there he met the native people of the islands. He didn't know he was in a completely new continent. And since he thought he was in India, he named the natives Indios, meaning people of India. The name stuck and eventually became the name we use today, Indian. The name stuck even after people realized that this was a whole new continent. Today, many prefer the term Native American or Indigenous or their tribal name, but the word Indian is still used in U.S. law, treaties, and federal programs. It's also used by the United Nations and other groups. So it's important to know where this name comes from and how it affects people today. There are over 500 federally recognized tribes in the U.S., and each one has its own language, culture, and history. Some of the biggest tribes include the Cherokee. The Cherokee are known for their syllabary, which is one of the first writing systems invented in North America. The Cherokee also endured one of the saddest events in U.S. history, the Trail of Tears. In the 1830s, the government forced the Cherokee and other tribes from their lands in the southeast to new lands west of the Mississippi River. More than 4,000 Cherokee died on the journey. The Navajo are the largest tribe in the U.S., and they have the largest reservation. The Navajo reservation covers parts of 3 states, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. Their culture is rich and diverse and includes many different clans and a strong connection to the land. The Navajo also served bravely in World War II and established their own Code Talkers unit. The Navajo Code Talkers transmitted secret messages in their language that the enemy couldn't understand. This helped the U.S. win many battles. Some of the biggest tribes also include the Sioux, Lakota, and Dakota. These tribes are often referred to as the Plains Indians because they lived on the Great Plains. They were also known as the Warriors of the Bison. The Lakota and Dakota were fierce fighters who defended their lands against the U.S. Army. One famous Lakota leader was Sitting Bull. He led his people in the Battle of Little Bighorn, also known as Custer's Last Stand. But eventually the U.S. government forced them to move to reservations. Also, the Apache and the Comanche were fierce defenders of the Southwest. They were great horsemen and warriors and fought against the Spanish and then the U.S. Army to protect their land. Then the Choctaw, the Creek, the Seminole, and the Chickasaw are some of the nations of the Southeast. They lived in what is now the southeastern part of the U.S. They were known for their agriculture and skilled craftsmanship. They also resisted removal for many years, but eventually most were forced to move to Oklahoma. But there are hundreds of other tribes with just as rich histories. Some of those tribes include the Hopi, the Zuni, the Inuit, the Cheyenne, the Kiowa, the Iroquois, the Huron, the Mohican, the Chippewa, the Ottawa, the Pueblo, the Apache, the Lumbee, the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and many others. All these tribes have something in common, the label of Indian. But what about the terms Red Indians and Black Indians? Is that correct? Is that offensive? What about Afro-Indigenous people? Does that even exist? Well, let's talk about that next. The term Red Indians was an old colonial term used to refer to indigenous people. It was based on stereotypes of how the natives looked, specifically that they were red or reddish in color. Today, the term is outdated and considered offensive by most indigenous people. Now, what about Black Indians? Can you be both Black and Native American? Yes! The term Black Indians or Afro-Indigenous people refers to individuals who are descendants of both African and Native American ancestors. There are 2 main ways this happened. 1, some were enslaved Africans who were sold to native tribes. Most of these people were sold during the colonial period when European powers were fighting for control of North America. The tribes would purchase enslaved Africans from the Europeans and use them for labor. Over time, these enslaved Africans would intermarry with the Native Americans and their descendants became known as Black Indians. Others were free Black people who married into native nations. As the United States expanded westward, many Black Americans chose to join native tribes in order to escape the racism and persecution they faced in white society. By marrying into a tribe, they could gain access to tribal lands and resources which were often protected from the reach of the U.S. government. Now, being black didn't make you any less Native American. In fact, some tribes like the Cherokee have a long history of including black members in their nation. The Cherokee were one of the first tribes to adopt a constitution, and in their constitution, it clearly states that anyone who is a member of the Cherokee Nation is entitled to the same rights regardless of race. However, not all tribes have been so accepting. For example, some tribes did not allow interracial marriage, and those that did often place restrictions on the type of person that could be married. Despite the challenges they faced, Afro-Indigenous people have played an important role in the history of their tribes and communities. Many of them fought in the American Revolution and the War of 1812, and later fought to defend tribal lands against the U.S. government. Today, they continue to be an integral part of Native American culture and society. So yes, black Indians are real and their stories deserve to be told. So now you might be asking, why do names matter? Why is it a big deal to be called Indian? Well, let's go back to the signing of treaties. When the U.S. government signed treaties with the tribes, they used the term Indian to refer to the tribes. This caused a lot of confusion because the term Indian didn't specify which tribe they were talking about. It also caused problems when the U.S. government tried to take tribal lands. The government said that they had the right to take the land because they had signed a treaty with the Indians, but the Indians never agreed to give up their land. This led to broken treaties and the loss of tribal lands. Now, when the U.S. government created the Bureau of Indian Affairs, they used the term Indian to categorize all tribes under one agency. This led to a loss of tribal identity and sovereignty. Being called Indian also led to the creation of tribal rolls, which are lists of all members of a tribe. The rolls were used to determine who was eligible for certain benefits and services from the government, but the rolls have also been used to exclude people from tribes. For example, some freedmen, descendants of enslaved Africans, were removed from tribal rolls because they were not considered to be true members of the tribe. This exclusion has led to a loss of tribal membership and the denial of certain rights and benefits. So names matter because they can affect people's lives in big and small ways. So what's my take? Should we call indigenous people Native American, Indigenous, or Indian? My take is that we should call people what they prefer. If someone says they're Cherokee or Navajo, use that. It's okay to say Indian for history or legal context, but we must understand where the term comes from. The bottom line, Columbus made a mistake, but the name stuck. Tribes are unique nations with rich cultures and history. Red Indians is outdated. Black Indians are real, and their stories deserve to be told. Thanks for watching. What do you think? Do you say Native American, Indigenous, or Indian? Comment below and follow for more untold history.